Hello, this is Bryce on the floor with another tennis improvement video, and I'm coming at you from Carcavelos, Portugal, here at the Carcavelos Tennis Club. And today I would like to give you guys some tips about tennis strategy. However, first of all, I want you guys to avoid the trap of thinking that tennis strategy is this really complicated thing that nobody knows, and there's some magic pill that's going to solve everything as it relates to tennis strategy. Generally, tennis strategy is really simple, so keep that in mind as we continue through the video. So here are the top 3 tips that you can use in to create good strategies when you're playing tennis and to learn about tennis strategy. Okay, so first of all, tennis is a game of errors, and to play high percentage tennis. Okay, so when you're thinking about tennis strategy, understand that the game is often about lowering your margin for error. Your strategy should revolve around this, and this is different than many sports because, a basketball quote, you miss all the shots that you don't take. However, in tennis, this is pretty much opposite, okay? This is a game of errors, and when you're making your strategy, you want to find a way to lower your margin for error, okay? You want to find a way to get one more ball back. All right, you want to wait for your opponent to miss or make your opponent miss. Okay, so look at your opponent's weaknesses. All right, and move around your own weaknesses, so you're not making errors. All right, and make sure that you're playing within yourself. All right, meaning, a lot of times, people are watching professional tennis and, they're just shooting for the fences with no strategy, and they think that this super aggressive style is going to result in them winning the game. However, this is a real big tactical error because, that's going to lead to more errors because that's a really difficult shot. All right, so make sure you're intelligent with your ball placement and you're playing chess, not checkers. And you're thinking ahead and not taking unnecessary risky shots when you're playing tennis, because that's pretty much the fastest way to lose. Make sure you play high percentage tennis. Okay, so the next tip that I want to talk about is play the ball high and deep with topspin. Okay, so this is really simple yet really important tactically. All right, so when we play the ball high and deep with topspin, it lowers our margin for error, because one, we're going to avoid hitting the net, and also we're going to avoid hitting the ball out, because the topspin is going to drive the ball into the court. And also, if we can play the ball high and deep, that's going to put our opponent in a difficult position for the next return. If our because our opponent's going to have to move back out of the court. So if we can hit the ball deep consistently, we're going to get a lot of opportunities to either play aggressively, or that's going to make the opponent have a lot of errors. So play the ball deep and high with topspin. If you want to think, hey, can I play 4 balls deep with topspin? Can I hit the same old easy shot that's difficult to return? And then that's the type of thinking that's going to help you win a lot more matches when you're playing tennis. Okay, so play the ball high, deep with topspin. All right, so the third tip that we want to talk about with tennis strategy is have options and be dynamic. Okay, so make sure you have a good all-around game. Know how to have a good serve, know how to have a good forehand, know how to have good backhands, overheads, volleys, good footwork. Have a good, complete all-around game, because if you know anything about sports, you know that the best offense is a good defense. And when you have a good, well-rounded, dynamic game, what it does is it's almost like a counter strategy, because if you have a glaring weakness, like let's say you have a really bad backhand, all right, it's going to be really easy for your opponent to go to your backhand, and that's going to put you in a really poor position. However, if you have everything, it's going to be really hard for your opponent to find something you're weak at, and then it's going to be really difficult for your opponent to figure out a way to beat you. Okay, so make sure you have an all-around game. And another reason you want to have an all-around game is because this gives you options. So every player is a little bit different, so you're going to have to change up your game based on your opponent. And if you have options, that means, let's say your opponent has a good forehand, a good backhand, but a weak serve. That means you can change your strategy and your tactics for that player, and you have options. Or let's say you're down in a match okay, instead of just, continue playing the same game and playing into your opponent's hand and losing the match, you're in a position where you can change up your strategy, and then this can give you a chance to get yourself back in the match because you can change things up and be dynamic. And the last thing is, this puts you in a position where you can mix things up with your opponent, and that's a lot harder to play versus somebody who just has a couple of shots in their arsenal. All right, so the last thing, this mini tip that I want to tell you guys is that tennis is a game all about finishing, okay? So make sure you finish really strong when you're playing tennis, and combine these 3 tips to help you have better match results. So thank you so much. This has been Bryson LaFleur with another tennis improvement video. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, great luck out there on the tennis court.